The cross-country champions are Tyler Duncan, Brian Carrindo, Patrick Petaway,
I should have had everything ready before I did all that, right? Oh well, y'all hear me? Good. Yo, what's going on? This is Tell the Truth. Let me make sure I'm being heard on this clock app too. Um what's going on, folk? Kinfolk, not kinfolk, skinfolk, whatever you want to call it. I am back. This is probably the first time in a while that I've done two streams with uh basically within a 7 day period. I want to say it was probably when I was doing the band reactions on Sundays, which I probably want to do again once we get back to that time period because I did enjoy doing that. So no need to fear I will be doing that more consistently once the band season kicks back off. I know I'm looking forward to the MEAC SWAT challenge. There's already talks about the first battle. I believe is in Houston. I'll be watching that heavily. Y'all know how I am, big band head. Don't care, don't like it, didn't ask. I see I got some folk in the chat. What's up? Where everybody from? How y'all feeling? All the other good stuff. So I was at work today, and just like any other time period, y'all like to get mad about things. And then a lot of times what happens is y'all kind of take things out of context. You kind of run with it, and then the jokes start coming along because of what you thought was being said. And I mean, sometimes the jokes be funny. I ain't gonna hold you. Sometimes I'll be laughing. But then sometimes y'all just be missing the entire plot, and it's more pathetic than anything. I don't like the way I'm sounding right now. Do I sound better? 1 2 1 2. I don't like the way I'm sounding. Let me turn my lows up some. Maybe that'll help. So what happens is I see something and I see a good minute long clip, and I'm like, okay, that's cool and all, but I need more context. I need to hear what was said around and about it. And I just need to know what the setting was, what was going on. So I found out that this is what's going on? I found out this was a graduation commencement speech by Super Bowl champion, if I'm not mistaken, 3-time Super Bowl champion kicker Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. And he is a well-known, I believe he's Catholic, very conservative. So just kind of giving you the update now. This is going to be a heavily conservative speech given by Harrison Butker. So if you are somebody who just gets sick at the sight of a conservative speech, this may not be the video for you. Me, I don't care. I don't agree or disagree with everything I listen to. I just want to see where people are coming from. So that's what I'm going to be using the stream for, because at the end of the day, it's his opinion. I may agree, I may disagree. And that's the beautiful thing about having a freedom of speech that I think gets glossed over, not glazed over. My fault. I be hanging around with these kids too doggone much. So let's go ahead and pull this video up and let's not waste any more time because I want to see what was said. So I want to go ahead and let it be known that this is fair use. I'm going to, I think should be able to jump this up to 1.5 because I ain't trying to hear him speak as slowly as possible. So let's get to it.
Of the class of 2020. I would like to start off by congratulating all of you for successfully making it to this achievement day. I'm sure your high school graduation was not what you had imagined, and most likely, neither was your first couple years of college. By making it to this moment through all the adversity thrown your way from COVID, I hope you learned the important lessons that suffering in this life is only temporary. As a group, you witnessed firsthand how bad leaders who don't stay in their lane can have a negative impact on society. It is through this lens that I want to take stock of how we got to where we are and where we want to go as citizens.
So already you can kind of see he's going to start throwing some shade towards the politicians. And honestly, if it doesn't matter which side of the political aisle you sit on, I think I've seen a lot of criticisms on both sides. The left are saying that the right are making us move too fast and getting us out there too quickly, blah blah blah. The right is saying that the economy is the way it is because of the shutdowns and this, that, and third. So let's see where he's going.
Citizens, and yes, as Catholics. One last thing before I begin. I want to be sure to thank President Minnis and the board for their invitation to speak. When President Minnis first reached out a couple of months ago, I had originally said no. You see, last year I gave the commencement address at my alma mater, Georgia Tech, and I felt that one graduation speech was more than enough, especially for someone who isn't a professional speaker. But of course, President Minnis used his gift of persuasion and spoke to the many challenges you all faced throughout the COVID fiasco and how you missed out on so many milestones the rest of us older people have taken for granted. While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it's not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia.
And there goes the first word right there. Everybody's mad. Whoop, he said the N word. So, again, I said he's conservative, correct? And this is a very conservative college. This is if I'm not mistaken, this is a private Catholic college. So you can already come up to the conclusion that this is probably a college that is a lot more conservative leaning. I think from the perspective of a lot of the conservatives, you look at a lot of these public institutions, they are more liberal, and that's why you're seeing a lot of the protests going on when they start looking at the Israel and the Palestine situation. You see a lot of that going on in these a lot more liberal schools. So the same way that they have their thoughts, this is his thoughts here. So let's continue.
Asia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally.
Well, based on your beliefs, this is going off of this. The whole thing is these are the beliefs of the side that he's on, and is he entitled to have his beliefs? I know a lot of people that are listening to me right now are probably not going to be happy with what he said, but again, we do live in this country where you are able to have your beliefs, and there's a lot of people out here that are still like 100% against the A word.
Vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it. These are the sorts of things we are told in polite society to not bring up. The difficult and unpleasant things. But if we are going to be men and women for this time in history, we need to stop pretending that the Church of Nice is a winning proposition. We must always speak and act in charity, but never mistake charity for cowardice. It is safe to say that over the past few years, I've gained quite the reputation.
Let me go ahead and speak to that. I respect people that are willing to go ahead and just stand on their beliefs and speak their mind and not really be concerned with who likes what they're saying, who doesn't like what what's being said. Because honestly, we live in a society now where you can't say the wrong thing or you're going to be canceled or what have you. And so for Harrison Butker to come out here and say, look, forget all that. You can't really cancel me because I've made all the money that I need. And he's never saying this, but it does make it a lot easier when you are a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a really great kicker, for you to come out here and say these things and not really be concerned about being canceled. That's why you have guys like Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams being able to say what they feel, and not really being concerned about being canceled because they're set.
For speaking my mind. I never envisioned myself nor wanted to have this sort of a platform, but God has given it to me, so I have no other choice but to embrace it and preach more hard truths about accepting your lane and staying in it. As members of the church,
when was the last time you said no to a cupcake? When was the last time you put a picture on your page that way you can see, I can see what you look like? I'm confident in my skin. What about you, Trump?
Founded by Jesus Christ, it is our duty and ultimately privilege to be authentically and unapologetically Catholic. Don't be mistaken, even within the church, people in polite Catholic circles will try to persuade you to remain silent. There even was an award-winning film called Silence, made by a fellow Catholic, wherein one of the main characters, a Jesuit priest, abandoned the church as an apostate, grasping a crucifix, quiet and unknown to anyone but God.
You never answered because it doesn't matter. What do you look like? And please don't be bigger than me because I ain't even that big.
As a friend of Benedictine College, His Excellency Bishop Robert Barron said in his review of the film, it was exactly what the cultural elite want to see in Christianity: private, hidden away, and harmless. Our Catholic faith has always been countercultural. Our Lord, along with countless followers, were all put to death for their adherence to her teachings. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking truth because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority. Congress just passed a bill where stating something as basic as biblical teaching of who killed Jesus could land you in jail. But make no mistake, before we even attempt to fix any of the issues plaguing society, we must
run it back.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking
All right,
truth.
So he's using that talking
private,
point.
hidden away, and harmless. Our Catholic faith has always been countercultural. Our Lord, along with countless followers, were all put to death for their adherence to her teachings. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking truth.
All right, now we're kind of veering off into another sphere where he's bringing up DEI, calling it tyranny. There are some things that can be skeptical about it, but calling it tyranny, we kind of overuse the word tyranny in this case. So, all right.
Because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority. Congress just passed a bill where stating something as basic as the biblical teaching of who killed Jesus could land you in jail. But make no mistake, before
who's getting put in jail for saying who killed Jesus? That's what I want to know. Who's saying this?
Attempt to fix any of the issues
who's being put in jail?
We must first get our own house in order, and it starts with our leaders. The bishops and priests appointed by God as our spiritual fathers must.
Nobody said the misogyny was okay. What
for me to list all the
stories? What are you on about? Nobody said that misogyny is okay. I haven't got to what the accused misogyny is.
Of priests and bishops misleading their flocks, but none of us can blame ignorance anymore and just blindly proclaim that that's what Father said. Because sadly, many priests we are looking to for leadership are the same ones who prioritize their hobbies or even photos with their dogs and matching outfits for the parish directory. It's easy for us laymen and women to think that in order for us to be holy, that we must be active in our parish and try to fix it. Yes, we absolutely should be involved in supporting our parishes, but we cannot be the source for our parish priests to lean on to help with their problems. Just as we look at the relationship between a father and his son, so too should we look at the relationship between a priest and his people. It would not be appropriate for me to always be looking to my son for help when it is my job as his father to lead him. St. Jose Maria Escriva states that priests are ordained to serve and should not yield to temptation to imitate lay people, but to be priests through and through. Tragically, so many priests revolve much of their happiness from the adulation they receive from their parishioners, and in searching for this, they let their guard down and become overly familiar. This undue familiarity will prove to be because as my teammate's girlfriend's familiarity breeds contempt. St. Jose Maria continues that some want to see the priest as just another man. That is not so. They want to find in the priest those virtues proper to every Christian, and indeed every honorable man: understanding, justice, a life of work, priestly work in this instance, and good manners. It is not prudent as a lady for us to consume ourselves in becoming amateur theologians so that we can decipher this or that theological teaching, unless, of course, you are a theology major. We must be intentional with our focus on our state in life and our own vocation. And for most of us, that's as married men and women.
I wish it would stop buffering.
Still, we have so many great resources at our fingertips that it doesn't take long to find.
All right, let's try something real quick because this is being stupid. So let's back up some. I did not have this problem Sunday when I was doing this. Shout out to everybody watching me right now. Where's everybody watching from? I'm on Twitch, Kick, as well as YouTube.
You are a theology major. We must be on our state in life and our own vocation. And for most of us, that's as married men and women. Still, we have so many great resources at our fingertips that it doesn't take long to find traditional and timeless teachings that haven't been ambiguously reworded for our times. Plus, there are still many good and holy priests, and it's up to us.
What's up, Chris?
The chaos of the world is unfortunately reflected in the chaos in our.
So basically, what's going on? I'm reacting to you probably the Harrison Butker situation where everybody's mad about what he was saying. A lot of it, I think, had to do with him kind of endorsing a stay-at-home mom. Is what I'm kind of getting at. I'm only halfway through it though, so we'll see.
As we saw during the pandemic, too many bishops were not leaders at all. They were motivated by fear of being sued, fear of being removed, fear of being disliked. They showed by their actions, intentional or unintentional, that the sacraments don't actually matter. Because of this, countless people died alone without access to the sacraments, and it's a tragedy we must never forget. As Catholics, we can look to so many examples of heroic shepherds who gave their lives for their people, and ultimately, the church. We cannot buy into the lie that the things we experienced during COVID were appropriate. Over the centuries, there have been great wars, great famines, and yes, even great diseases, all that came with a level of lethality and danger. But in each of those examples, church leaders leaned into their vocations and ensured that their people received the sacraments. Great saints like St. Damien of Malachi, who knew the dangers of his ministry.
All right, so if I'm not mistaken, is he kind of bringing up how the churches were closed down? Is this what he's talking about? Let's go back.
Our cathedrals too, as unfortunately reflected in the chaos in our parishes, and sadly in our cathedrals too, haven't been ambiguously reworded for our times. Plus, there are still many good and holy priests, and it's up to us to seek them out. The chaos of the world is unfortunately reflected in the chaos in our parishes, and sadly in our cathedrals too. As we saw during the pandemic, too many bishops were not leaders at all. They were motivated by fear of being sued, fear of being removed, fear of being disliked. They showed by their actions, intentional or unintentional, that the sacraments don't actually matter. Because of this, countless people died alone without access to the sacraments, and it's a tragedy we must never forget.
Okay, so
As
yeah,
Catholics, we can look to so many examples of heroic.
So he's basically talking about how during the pandemic, a lot of churches were shut down.
Shepherds who gave their lives for their people, and ultimately the church. We cannot buy into the lie that the things we experienced during COVID were appropriate. Over the centuries, there have been great wars, great famines, and yes, even great diseases, all that came with a level of lethality and danger. But in each of those examples, church leaders leaned into their vocations and ensured that their people received the sacraments. Great saints like St. Damien of Malachi, who knew the dangers of his ministry, stayed for 11 years as a spiritual leader to the leper colonies of Hawaii. His heroism is looked at today as something set apart and unique, when ideally, it should not be unique at all. For as a father loves his child, so a shepherd should love his spiritual children too. That goes even more so for our bishops, these men who are present-day apostles. Our bishops once had adoring crowds of people, kissing their rings and taking in their every word, but now relegate themselves to a position of inconsequential existence. Now, when a bishop of a diocese or the bishops' conference as a whole puts out an important document on this matter or that, nobody even takes a moment to read it, let alone follow it. No. Today, our shepherds are far more concerned with keeping the doors open to the chancery than they are with saying the difficult stuff out loud. It seems that the only time you hear from your bishops is when it's time for the annual appeal, whereas we need our bishops to be vocal about the teachings of the church, setting aside their own personal comfort and embracing their cross. Our bishops are not politicians, but shepherds. So instead of fitting in the world by going along to get along, they too need to stay in their lane and lead. I say all of this with anger, as we get the leaders deserve. But this does make me reflect on staying in my lane and focusing on my own vocation and how I can be a better father and husband and live in the world, but not be of it. Focusing on my vocation while praying and fasting for these men will do more for the church than me complaining about her leaders. Because there seems to be so much confusion coming from our leaders, there needs to be concrete examples for people to look to in places like Benedictine, a little Kansas college built high on a bluff above the Missouri River, are showing the world how an ordered, Christ-centered existence is the recipe for success. You need to look no further than the examples all around this campus, where over the past 20 years, enrollment has doubled, construction and revitalization are a constant part of life, and people, the students, the faculty and staff, are thriving. This didn't happen by chance. In a deliberate movement to embrace traditional Catholic values, Benedictine has gone from just another liberal arts school with nothing to set it apart to a thriving beacon of light and a reminder to us all that when you embrace tradition, success, worldly and spiritual, will follow. I'm certain the reporters at the AP could not have imagined that their attempt to rebuke and embarrass places and people like those here at Benedictine wouldn't be met with anger, but instead met with excitement and pride. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God-centered pride that has cooperated with the Holy Ghost.
I knew it was coming. That there's a line that a lot of people got mad at there too. Well, again, just let y'all know that when you really think about it, biblically, pride is one of these 7 deadly sins, and so that's where the shot was coming from. Just given the context of it.
Glorify him. Reading that article now shared all over the world, we see that in the complete surrender of self and a turning towards Christ, you will find happiness. Right here in a little town in Kansas, we find many inspiring lay people using their talents. President Minnis, Dr. Swafford, and Dr. Zimmerer are a few great examples right here on this very campus that will keep the light of Christ burning bright for generations to come. Being locked in with your vocation and staying in your lane is going to be the surest way for you to find true happiness and peace in this life. It is essential that we focus on our own state in life, whether that be as a layperson, a priest, or religious. Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2024, you are sitting at the edge of the rest of your lives. Each of you has the potential to leave a legacy that transcends yourselves in this era of human existence. In the small ways, by living out your vocation, you will ensure that God's church continues and the world is enlightened by your example. For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
All right, so let's just go and break down that part right there. So he's congratulating the women, basically saying that I know some of y'all are looking forward to the careers and the promotions and all the accolades that are going to come with it, but he's basically saying that he believes that the biggest accomplishment a lot of these women are looking forward to is being married and being a mother. Most people would probably agree with that to an extent because that is something that is a goal for a lot of women. So I get it from that point. But let's continue and see how far he goes with it.
I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
All right, so he's saying that the best thing to happen to him was his wife because, again, biblically, man should not live alone, needs to help me, blah, 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 blah. So everything right now that I'm getting from him is, in a way, backed up by scripture. Did he say in any way, shape, or form that women shouldn't work? Now, I have gone on many times on this platform, basically dogging out Hannah Pearl. What's her last name? Just Pearly Things. Just Pearly Things. Let's bring back our good old friend Hannah Pearl Davis. Just Pearly Things has come out here and on her many times has come out and said that women shouldn't vote, women should do this, women should do that. I'm not getting this from him. I'm not. I'm sorry. He's giving a perspective from his life, and no, that's not everybody's story. I know some amazing stay-at-home moms, some amazing stay-at-home dads, but at the same time, he's saying that this is what has worked for him. It's not always going to work for everybody else. Yes, I know this guy is a millionaire, makes millions of dollars to kick a ball. And he does a really good job at it because he's still in the league and he kicks for the best team in the NFL 2 straight years. So you put all that into perspective. Yes, this is a It is coming from a place of privilege, but at the same time, it's coming from a place of what he believes is the best case scenario. For me, I didn't have a stay-at-home mother. I did have a two-parent household, which I 100% believe is the most ideal situation to be in as a family. And I know somebody's going to say, well, it's not always. I know it's not always the situation, but I do believe that a two-parent household is the most ideal situation. He's saying the most ideal situation, in his opinion, is a two-parent household, and the mother is the, as he said, homemaker. That's his opinion. I'm still not saying why we are like so outraged yet.
She's a primary educator to our children. She's the one who ensures I never let football or my business become a distraction from that of a husband and father. She's the person that knows me best at my core, and it is through our marriage that, Lord willing, we will both attain salvation. I say all of this to you because I've seen it firsthand, how much happier someone can be when they disregard the outside noise and move closer and closer to God's will in their life. Isabel's dream of having a career might not have come true, but if you asked her today if she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud without hesitation and say, heck no. As a man who gets a lot of praise and has been given a platform to speak to audiences like this one today, I pray that I always use my voice for God and not for myself. Everything I am saying to you is not from a place of wisdom, but rather a place of experience. I am hopeful that these words will be seen as those from a man, not much older than you, who feels it is imperative that this class, this generation, and this time in our society must stop pretending that the things we see around us are normal. Heterodox ideas abound even within Catholic circles, but let's be honest, there is nothing good about playing God with having children, whether that be your ideal number or the perfect time to conceive. No matter how you spin it, there is nothing natural about Catholic birth control. It is only in the past few years that I have grown in courage to speak more boldly and directly, because as I mentioned earlier, I have leaned into my vocation as a husband and father, and as a man. To the gentleman here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities. As men, we set the tone of the culture, and when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in. This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation. Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father rates.
Now he's coming towards the men now, so that's now this is more where I'm more like, what is he saying towards the men? Like nothing so far has made me to the point where I'm mad at him. So let's see what he has to say about the men. Maybe I get mad here.
As we find here in the US, and a correlation could be made in their drastically lower violence rates as well. Be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men. Do hard things. Never settle for what is easy. You might have a talent that you don't necessarily enjoy, but if it glorifies God, maybe you should lean into that over something that you might think suits you better. I speak from experience as an introvert who now finds myself as an amateur public speaker and an entrepreneur, something I never thought I'd be when I received my industrial engineering degree. The road ahead is bright. Things are changing, society is shifting, and people young and old are embracing tradition. Not only has it been my vocation that has helped me and those closest to me, but not surprising to many of you, should be my outspoken embrace of the traditional Latin Mass. I've been very vocal in my love and devotion to the TLM and its necessity for our lives. But what I think is misunderstood is that people who attend the TLM do so out of pride or preference. I can speak to my own experience, but for most people I have come across within these communities, this simply is not true. I do not attend the TLM because I think I'm better than others or for the smells and bells or for the love of Latin. I attend the TLM because I believe, since the God of the Old Testament was pretty particular in how he wanted to be worshipped, the same holds true for us today. It is through the TLM that I encountered order and began to pursue it in my own life. Aside from the TLM itself, too many of our sacred traditions have been relegated to things of the past, when in my parish, things such as Ember Days, days when we fast and pray for vocations and for our priests, are still adhered to. The TLM is so essential that I would challenge each of you to pick a place to move where it is readily available. A lot of people have complaints about the parish or the community, but
the whole time, so now he's talking about something else that I don't know. So the whole thing, I don't think he is saying, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that. He's coming from a place of what has worked for him. And if it works for you, it works for you. If not, cool. I'm just not seeing it.
We not sacrifice the Mass for community. I prioritize the TLM even if the parish isn't beautiful, the priest isn't great, or the community isn't amazing. I still go to the TLM because I believe the holy sacrifice of the Mass is more important than anything else. I say this knowing full well that when each of you rekindle your knowledge and adherence to many of the Church's greatest traditions, you will see how much more colorful and alive your life can and should be. As you move on from this place and enter into the world, know that you will face many challenges. Sadly, I'm sure many of you know of the countless stories of good and active members of this community who, after graduation and moving away from the Benedictine bubble, have ended up moving in with their boyfriend or girlfriend prior to marriage. Some even leave the church and abandon God. It is always heartbreaking to hear these stories, and there's a desire to know what happened and what went wrong. What you must remember is that life is about doing the small things well, setting yourself up for success, and surrounding yourself with people who continually push you to be the best version of you. I say this all the time, that iron sharpens iron. It's a great reminder that those closest to us should be making us better. If you are dating someone who doesn't even share your faith, how do you expect that person to help you become a saint? If your friend group is filled with people who only think about what you're doing next weekend and are not willing to have those difficult conversations, how can they help sharpen you? As you prepare to enter into the workforce, it is extremely important that you actually think about the places you are moving to. Who is the bishop? What kind of parishes are there? Do they offer the TLM and have priests who embrace their priestly vocation? Cost of living must not be the only arbiter of your choices, for a life without God is not a life at all, and the cost of salvation is worth more than any career. I'm excited for the future, and I pray that something I have said will resonate as you move on to the next chapter of your life. Never be afraid to profess the one holy, Catholic, and apostolic church, for this is the church that Jesus Christ established, through which we receive sanctifying grace. I know that my message today had a little less fluff than is expected for these speeches, but I believe that this audience and this venue is the best place to speak openly and honestly about who we are and where we all want to go, which is heaven. I thank God for Benedictine College and for the example it provides to the world. I thank God for men like President Minnis who are doing their part for the kingdom. Come to find out, you can have an authentically Catholic college and a thriving football program.
All right, that's enough of that. It's only like 35 seconds left. All right, so basically what I got out of this is exactly what I thought. He was speaking from a perspective of a conservative Catholic in a venue that is conservative Catholic. His viewpoints are conservative. He didn't say anything demeaning towards women in from what I saw. So the misogynist thing, I don't see it. I didn't even hear the Taylor Swift quote, but that it is what it is. According to Alexandra Lane's, Harrison Butker is right. He didn't say a woman's career wasn't important. Y'all can read along with me. Let's see what she says.
Even acknowledging that some will go on to lead success. Watching people on social media convulsing over Harrison Butker's commencement speech is wild, because I don't hear this kind of commotion for football players with 5 baby mamas who are on video beating their wives and children and driving their car 119 miles per hour, causing a 6-car crash. We have completely destroyed the holiness of family to the extremity of criticizing a man who goes on stage, congratulating the women for their accomplishments, even acknowledging that some will go on to lead successful careers, while still encouraging them to not be afraid to embrace the vocation of marriage and motherhood, especially if a career doesn't work out. Being a wife and a mom is important and it's pivotal, and no one should be villainized for speaking on it. In a society that promotes boss babe culture with a side order of abortions in order to be successful, a Catholic man encouraging Catholic beliefs to Catholic students is a breath of fresh air, especially after having to listen to morally reprehensible positions on a regular basis from the same people who are outraged now. Watching people on social media convulse.
I definitely see where she's coming from here. So basically, he's speaking as a Catholic to a Catholic school, to a school for Catholics about Catholic values. That's my whole point. Everybody's mad, but it'd have been even crazier if let's just say insert liberal here speaks at this same school. Then you're going to get a little bit more of a pushback. You get somebody that's going to speak to the majority. Yeah, you had a few liberals there. It's not always going to be a, I guess for lack of better terms, an echo chamber. So I don't see why this was such a big deal. So like this lady saying here, like the whole thing, he encouraged women to not be ashamed if their calling is to be the same thing that his wife is, a mother. Her main purpose is to raise the children, and has been a traditional role for women for so long. Yes, I understand the society and the economy that we are living in now does not make it necessarily effective now, and there's a lot of women that want to work. Power to you. He did not say anything negative towards you being that type of woman. I'm trying to understand why we are so upset about this. The NFL just condemned a speech by Super Bowl champion Harrison Butker. Let me go find that statement as well, because I do want to read that and kind of see why Whatever. That's probably not even true. All right, so this is on Harrison Butker evidently kind of put more context to it. So everyone's talking about everyone's taking what I said out of the context. So all I said is that we should go back to a better time like the 50s. I don't think he said this. So I'm going to ignore that because I don't think he said that. Now, if I can find a audio version of him saying that, since it looks like it was on a podcast, I will listen to it. Let's see what. I don't care for Whitlock really. Let's see.
Me, my roommate, and about it was horrible. Some of us did boo. Me and my roommate definitely did. There was a standing ovation from everyone in the room. Except
never mind. I ain't trying to hear it. I just read his caption. I ain't trying to hear it. All right, so let's go ahead and pull up the NFL statement on this because I do want to read that. Oh my gosh, you're calling it bigoted? I cannot with the buzzwords now. Calling it bigoted is crazy. So the NFL on Wednesday issued a measurable rebuke of Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker for his ultra-conservative blather during a college graduation speech. Butker slammed abortion rights, the LGBTQ community, and diversity initiatives, and suggested women should be far more eager to be homemakers than pursue careers. We just listened to it. I don't think he ever said to be more. He just said don't. Okay. But this is what happens. In his remarks to Benedictine College on Saturday, he even managed to tick off fans of Taylor Swift by referring to her merely as teammate Travis Kelce's girlfriend. This is what we're crying about. The image conscious league finally hit back in a statement to multiple outlets. Harrison Butker gave a speech in his personal capacity, right? Jonathan Bean, the NFL Senior Vice President and Chief Diversity and Inclusion, of course, Diversity and Inclusion Officer said in the statement, his views are not those of the NFL as an organization. The NFL is steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, which only makes our league stronger, I guess. The league, which is dominant team sport entity in the United States, appeared to focus on Butker, citing Pride Month as one of the 7 of the deadly sins, which it is. I'm sorry. And is pontificating on dangerous gender ideologies. I ain't even going to touch that. And the tyranny of diversity, equity, inclusion, which I have criticized. He also blasted President Joe Biden for supporting the unaliving of innocent babies. My whole thing was just him doing the whole cross thing while that was going on, when biblically, you and Rod Wave would be hush. Bad policies and poor leadership and negative. We just listened to all that. So basically, they were just saying that is his personal opinion. So hold on, because didn't I see somewhere? Did I see somebody say that there was a petition? And I think this is going to be where I really get really agitated, because we've lost the plot so this is literally a petition. Demand the Kansas City Chiefs to dismiss Harrison Butker for discriminatory remarks. Golly, I cannot talk. Let's see if there's some context. Oh my gosh. The second word just really blows me. Y'all blow me, bro. The harmful remarks, what was harmful, made by Harrison Butker, kicker of the Kansas City Chiefs, during his commencement address at Benedictine College were unacceptable. His comments were sexist, homophobic, anti. I guess the whole pride being a deadly sin kind of covers the homophobic, anti-trans. Stop throwing us into stuff and racist. These dehumanizing remarks against the LGBTQ plus individuals, attacks on abortion rights. Again, he never dehumanized you all. He just doesn't agree with it. I guess not agreeing with it is dehumanization in 2024. Attacks on abortion rights and racial discrimination perpetuate division and undermine human rights. Okay. These comments reinforce harmful stereotypes that threaten social progress. If I may ask, what stereotypes were reinforced? They create a toxic environment that hinders our collective efforts towards equality, diversity, and inclusion in society. It is unacceptable for such a public figure to use the platform to foster harm rather than unity. I would listen to the entire 20-minute speech, and I'm missing the harm and all these other buzzwords we're using. It is important to note that these types of discriminatory attitudes contribute significantly towards societal issues such as hate crimes, which have been on the rise in recent years. Okay. Furthermore, they can lead to which is so funny. Let's go ahead and bring this up because anything can lead to an idiot taking it into their own hands to go out there and do something stupid. We've literally seen, even on the other side, when the Roe v. Wade was lifted up, a guy from California found his way all the way on the other side of the country to try to unalive a Supreme Court justice. But it's crazy. And then the amount of times where they were threatening Supreme Court justices and they were like, nobody was just like condemning it then. So if we're going to call it out on one side, my whole thing is just be consistent. We called upon the Kansas City Chiefs manager to dismiss Harrison Butker immediately for his inappropriate conduct. Let's just keep it above. Nothing that Harrison Butker said put anybody in imminent danger. The issue that I'm having now is you have to agree with us or we're going to call for your job. When I was in school, a lot of these issues were highly controversial because there were people who were able to speak on these things and not agree with each other. I had been in many debates all my times in high school, and it was never to the point where somebody was trying to cancel me because of a disagreement that we would have. Now you have to agree with this, or now we're going to have approximately 156,631 signatures trying to get this man fired from his job because he's a Catholic conservative. I can understand if he was up here speaking about doing harm. There was nothing that he spoke about. He even in his criticisms of the president, he had criticisms and left it at that. There was no attacks. There was no, I want to slap him in the face as such movie star has done towards the former president. But nobody's trying to sign petitions about getting him kicked out of Hollywood or blah, blah, blah. So my whole thing is you can disagree with what Harrison Butker said. And notice I have yet to even put my own opinion out there. My opinion doesn't even matter. The fact that we have gotten to a point now in the society where when somebody speaks and has a opinion that doesn't go with, I guess you would call the mainstream, now you're going to have this. You're going to probably have more articles coming out over the next few days and weeks trying to basically run smear campaigns against him. To the point now there was a video running where evidently Patrick Mahomes that has even talked to Harrison Butker I don't know if this was a joke or if this was legitimate. But my whole thing is just like, what are we doing? Can we get back to a time where if somebody says something that you don't agree with, just okay, cool, keep it moving? Okay, make your jokes. The jokes can be funny. Sometimes the jokes are lame. Cool. But to go as far as to call for a man's job is insane. Not that he needs to be a kicker anymore. How old is Harrison Butker? How old is this man? He's been in the and also being an entrepreneur. I'm pretty sure the man doesn't need to kick another football again in his life to be all right. His family's going to be fine while many of us are working paycheck to paycheck. Wait, I'm older than him? That's crazy. So he's been cooking since 2017. And all those years has been for the Kansas City Chiefs. So can we stop this whole thing of trying to call for a man's job because of something that he said that we don't like? That's all I want to say. But other than that, man, I'm going to get up out of here. That's all I wanted to talk about. I've been up here about 50 minutes, not even counting the 5 minutes. Well, that's counting the 5 minutes of the intro and whatnot. The goal is to be back up here Sunday. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Maybe it'll be a band day. Just kind of going back and watching some band videos that I missed over the past season. Just getting ready for the Mavs band season, which will be coming up in the next month or so. So I'm gonna get up out of here, get ready for work in the morning. Last day of the week. Peace, love, pop stars. Always remember to drink your water. I'm out of here, y'all. Y'all have a great night. Stay safe. And please don't do nothing I wouldn't do because that would be smart.
Sliding it like a wet flow. Already fried from the get-go. Alligators look like gecko. Everything I do, they echo. Big facts, my bank on big man. My drip too wet, that spit can. Yo, swap me like Q-tips. Hold it there like